Well, now in some more breaking news this morning, Iran has said it has chosen a new supreme leader. It follows a meeting of the regime's assembly of experts. Well, we'll see how long this one lasts. Joining me now is my panel, the writer and broadcaster Candace Holdsworth and the former Labour advisor Matthew Laza. Thanks both for joining us. Matthew, I'm going to kick off with you. What an extraordinary social media post from Donald Trump over the weekend.
Well, I mean, what a long line of extraordinary social media posts. I mean, I think what's important is that everybody keeps their heads and does the thing that they think is right, both for their country and for the wider world. And that's exactly what Keir Starmer is doing. And actually, it's interesting we're seeing the King's Commonwealth message, because it's exactly what Anthony Albanese in Australia is doing and what Mark Carney is doing in Canada, which is, keeping their heads and taking the sensible course.
There's a difference, though, isn't there, Matthew? Because both Albanese and Carney, both of them centre-left prime ministers of Commonwealth countries.
So's Keir Starmer.
The moment, the difference is here. The moment Donald Trump took that action, along with the Israelis, to take out the Supreme Leader, Carney and Albanese put out supportive statements. They didn't devote any military aid. They don't have bases in the region, all the rest of it. But they did say they supported the action. Sir Keir Starmer was different. Sir Keir Starmer did not say he supported the action. He withheld doing anything for 48 hours.
Well, I'm not sure he withheld from doing anything for 48 hours. I mean, look, you can dance on the head of a pin about whether the statements are supportive or not. What he hasn't condemned the action, which, frankly, quite a lot of people in this country, the vast majority of whom don't agree with the action, would want him to do. He has taken the pragmatic approach, which is using British assets and allowing the Americans to use British assets for protective purposes, but not either endorsing or taking part in what is folly. And look, I mean, we could get up the photo of me standing next to Tony Blair as a 19-year-old with big hair and a lot of hope in what he was going to do. Well, a lot of that hope was ruined because of his naivety, and I'm using naivety in italics, over Iraq. And I think the last thing anybody needs is Tony Blair lecturing him. And what Tony Blair and Donald Trump need to do is, every time that they criticise Keir Starmer, they increase his popularity and convince the vast majority of the British people that he's doing the right thing. And that's why, bizarrely, Labour's going up in the polls.
Hello, I'm Bev Turner. Now, it can feel like the money in our bank accounts at the moment does not keep up with the cost of living. And maybe there's a solution. I'm here today with the CEO of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. Cameron, what is TallyMoney?
Well, Bev, with TallyMoney, you get a current account and a debit card, but instead of pounds, you use milligrams of gold as your everyday money.
So why gold?
Gold traditionally is a great store of value. It has, on average, gone up at over 11% per annum for the last 25 years against the pound. It's tripled in value in the last decade. And in the last 2 years alone, it's increased by 50% against the pound. Banks' savings products just can't compete with that level of growth.
But this isn't just about gold. This is about a currency that you guys have created at TallyMoney. Explain it to me as though I'm an idiot.
So, look, people need to be able to hold their earnings and build their savings in a money that retains its value and remains in their legal control and remains theirs to access, away from government control.
Great. You had me at not exposed to government control.
You should feel safe and happy with your money. You should have peace of mind the more money you see in your bank balance, and that's the type of thing we're trying to deliver and give people choice in the type of money they get to use every day.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Cameron. Thank you.
Candace, is there a difficulty here, though? Because the Prime Minister has, to my mind, annoyed two different groups of people. The group of people that say, don't do any strikes in the Middle East at all, and the group of people who say, stick by the Americans, come what may. I mean, he's trying to chart a middle path here, but that risks being hit by traffic from both sides.
No, yes, absolutely. I love that saying. You know, you can't build a bridge to the middle, and you shouldn't even try. Yeah, I think that he has... what we've seen is, I think, a very incoherent, unclear message. We're not sure where he stands. It looks like a U-turn. He's made various conflicting statements. What we know from the reporting is that when the Americans first asked to be able to use this base, and there was reluctance from the British side, that actually things became quite explosive. So now we're seeing Donald Trump sort of publicly say what's been going on behind closed doors for weeks, even though I think that there was some appeasement of American concerns. Yeah, I'm not sure where they stand on this issue. I know that the centre-left Labour government are very sceptical of the idea of projecting hard power. And that is exactly what this American administration is trying to do. And they want to bring European powers with them. They want to bring British powers with them. And like you said, you've sort of seen other Western countries agree with that and say, as Western civilization, we are allied in this cause, even if they haven't sent military aid, they've said morally we are with you. Whereas the British have not at all. They've stood out in the fact that no one knows where we stand. And I think that a lot of that has to do with domestic concerns. I mean, we saw Keir Starmer at an event last week saying that we played no part in the strikes, clearly signalling to those who he's worried will move from the Labour to the Greens. They've lost a lot of votes over Gaza, and I don't think they want to lose any more votes over the Middle East. And I think the big criticism is that's so parochial. Whereas in times like this, Britain really needs to stand up for certain values and stand with its allies.
That's exactly what it's doing. It's standing up for values of international law, Candice. It's standing up for values of common sense, because Donald Trump is doing a performative strike on Iran, which the vast majority of people in this country and in the United States oppose, and he's doing it to cover up his political disaster at home. And yet, I mean, I am astounded that we're seeing Chris Philp and the Tories there, who would just say yes, and of course reform, where I think Nigel has spent his Friday in Mar-a-Lago and not in Clacton once again. Literally doffing their tugging their forelock and doffing their cap and saying, yes, sir, yes, Mr. Trump, we'll do whatever we do. That's not a special relationship.
Matthew,
that's capitulation. And I actually believe that Britain is stronger and better than that.
Do you think that argument would hold more weight if there were other countries that were taking that same course? Because, of course, Chancellor Merz of Germany was in the United States earlier this week. Donald Trump was singing the praises for what the Germans have done. He was singing the praises for what the Australians have done, what the Canadians have done, what the Italians have done, what the French have done. Britain, along with Spain, seems to be in Donald Trump's bad books, not because we're being...
Wow! Because the number one priority for British Prime Minister is being in the good books of an absolutely off his face American president, in the sense of not anybody you can sensibly deal with. So, first of all, on Carney made a statement at the beginning saying that he was supportive of the attacks, and now he said they're against international law, so I suspect he'll go on to the Trump...
He gave a speech at Davos just a few weeks ago saying international law and the international order has sort of broken down. So,
he didn't also say in that speech that you should have absolute chaos, Tom, which is what Trump does. It's fine. A minority of people in this country, which is represented by Chris Philp and the Tories, want to say yes, sir, no, sir, to Donald Trump. Keir Starmer will do the right thing for Britain.
But Iran is opposed to our interests. I mean, we've just had the arrest of 4 Iranian spies, possibly planning attacks on Jewish targets. I mean, all over the world, they've sponsored terrorism. I mean, Iran is opposed to our interests.
Absolutely, but this isn't the way to deal with it.
And I don't think international law should trump that. Fine, absolutely, you can say that maybe this isn't going to work, but I think that treating America as if it's our enemy in some way is completely off the mark.
We're hardly treating it as an enemy. We're letting them use our bases.
Well, this is the interesting point, is it not? Could there not have been a scintilla of foresight that Britain would be seen as a target by the Iranian regime? Britain has been a target of the Iranian regime over decades. We've seen Iranian operations on British soil that have targeted British people on British soil. It didn't take a genius to think that perhaps our bases in the region would be targeted. Perhaps our people in hotels in Dubai or Abu Dhabi would be targeted too. I mean, isn't this the interesting thing? That according to reporting in The Spectator magazine by Tim Shipman, that Keir Starmer actually wanted to be a bit more forward-thinking about this and deploy some resources faster and be ready for those defensive strikes earlier. And it turned out it was Ed Miliband around the cabinet table who led a revolt and stopped the Prime Minister doing what the Prime Minister thought was best. I mean, that's an extraordinary position to be in.
Well, I mean, I don't think that's... there are two separate issues. Cyprus, I have no idea why our sovereign base is on Cyprus, remembering that the situation in Cyprus is very complicated. The state in the south is not a member of NATO, despite what David Lammy seems to think, and therefore is not part of collective defence, and the state in the north is not recognised, but is effectively backed by Turkey, which is a member of NATO. But our British sovereign base is there. I have no idea why there are not permanently more anti-drone capacity there. Whether that's a question for the politicians or the military, I don't know. I have to say, I think it's a bit much for some of these Gulf states to say, oh, can you come and protect us? Why don't they spend a bit more money on defence and a bit less on football teams in Europe? And you know, you're asking British taxpayers to continually spend money to defend the richest countries in the world? It's completely ridiculous.
British people and British bases, but
so we should defend every British person everywhere in the world. We should say, I mean, that's just ludicrous.
That is the duty of the British government. But Candace,
to defend people in Dubai, influences in Dubai.
Yes, absolutely. If our people are being bombed with missiles and drones, it's the duty of the British government to defend
wherever
them.
that is in the world.
But of course, Candace, this is a difficult situation because since 1980, up until this year, there has been at least one British naval vessel in the region. This year was the first year since 1980 that we didn't have an asset in the region. It seems like a massive, massive misstep.
Yes, I think this is chickens coming home to roost, right? This is what people have been saying for years, the lack of foresight, the lack of spending on defence, the constant cuts. I mean, when you look at what we spend in terms of defence and education, two things that I think most people would find really important compared to things like welfare spending, it's actually disgraceful, and this is the consequence of it. This is what happens. I mean, the fact of the matter is, we're not on a holiday from history. There is a global conflict brewing. We're in a time of crisis. We have to be prepared for this.
Well, Candace and Matthew, thanks so much for talking through what is, I feel like, just the beginning of a very long discussion. We will be back with you, of course, at the top of the next hour. But thank you very much indeed.